Good morning, everybody, here in Strasbourg for this session today. Welcome to our S&D Group press conference, and I hand over to our President, Iratxe García, Pérez.
Buenos días.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you for coming to this meeting where we review the most important issues on this week's plenary agenda. But perhaps you can understand if I begin picking up where I left off last week with the European Socialist Congress in Amsterdam. I think that was an important time for reflection and debate. We approved 14 resolutions setting out our priorities. And I think it's a good opportunity to realize that these 14 resolutions approved by the European Socialists are completely in line with the priorities that we in the S&D Group in this Parliament have been working with local and regional and national leaders, trade unionists, social partners, academics and national figures from outside the EU as well, were there with a common objective, which is to mobilize so that we can contribute to a more fair, sustainable and democratic Europe. We have reaffirmed our socialist commitment to combat the extreme right and to place at the top of the European agenda the priorities that we have been fighting for: social justice, employment, housing, equality, democracy and the rule of law, or the green transition. As I say, it was an important moment. And we had also invited international guests of a very high level. And I think that just reflects the capacity of our political family to find time for debate and to find solutions, for example, with regard to the situation in Gaza at the moment. The fact that we were able to have the leader of the Israeli Labour Party together with the Palestinian Prime Minister, I think, shows that we can make a contribution in seeking for a solution based on peace, human rights and justice. Continuing with the matters on the agenda this week, the European Council meeting, which is being held this week. Here we see for the first time that heads of state and government are calling on the European Commission for an accessible housing plan. That is on the agenda of the European Summit this week. And I would like to thank Antonio Costa, the President of Council, for having included this on the agenda. But also we have to acknowledge that if we are discussing this today in Council, it is because of the efforts that all of our political family have made over the last year. This is the result of intense, hard work done by our group, focusing on realities such as the need for a Commissioner for Housing, the need for a housing committee led by a Social Democrat colleague in this Parliament, and also the commitment made by Commissioner President von der Leyen in her State of the Union speech, where she was very clear in her words. So these are good results. They represent a good step forward, but of course we have to continue working. As we have said so often, and as we reiterated in Amsterdam, housing is a right, not a privilege. And if we need reform of state aid rules and the rules on public services to provide access to affordable housing, regulation of rents for short-term rentals, and also European Union funding for decent housing as part of the multi-annual financial framework. These are things we need to continue to fight for. And ahead of the debate on climate in the European Council, we, Socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament, are very clear. We are calling on Council to commit to a climate target for 2040 and to speed up the green transition. with, for example, the Clean Industrial Pact, the Net Zero Industry Act. People are presenting a false dichotomy between saying that we have somehow to choose between industry and the planet. Is totally erroneous. I mean, you know, there's no point in making efforts in industrial policy if we're not going to have a planet in future. So it's a false dichotomy, as I say. And also we turn to the peace negotiations in the Middle East. I think it's very important we should be having a debate on this today in the European Parliament. Clearly, the ceasefire is excellent news for everyone, but this can only be a first step towards a peaceful solution to the conflict. And of course, there are a lot of unresolved issues that have to be addressed. How can we move forward to resolve the conflict? At the end of the day, we have to have a recognition of two states, Israeli and Palestinian, that can live together in peace. But we also need to talk about the reconstruction of Gaza, of the governance of Gaza and of the Palestinians, and what the role of the EU will be in the process of reconstruction, which is also crucial. And ending with Ukraine, as a group, we have constantly been emphasizing the need to confiscate the frozen Russian assets. It is crucial to be able to finance the reconstruction of Ukraine. It is the person responsible for the destruction of Ukraine that ought to be stepping up the funds to pay for the damage. And finally, on the Commission Work Programme, this afternoon we have the debate. We hope to see concrete proposals that reflect our priorities. We have been working and negotiating with the Commission over the last few weeks. We've had open discussions. We have set out our priorities, and we hope to see proposals that will help European citizens. At the end of the day, this is what we are working for as Socialists and Democrats. At a time where there's a lot of disaffection on the part of citizens in Europe vis-à-vis Europe, the European Union, I think we have to show them that we are concerned about their worries and that we are prepared to take action to meet their concerns. And our job is to see how we can improve the lives of our citizens. So this is why we need the Accessible Housing Fund. We need to fight poverty. We need quality, decent employment laws. We need to have regulations for electric cars. We need to reduce our energy dependencies and also reduce the energy bills of our citizens. These are all concrete proposals that come from our group, and we will be looking forward to see how these proposals are presented this afternoon by the European Commission as part of their work programme. We'll wait and see whether they have indeed taken these issues on board. And on question time, we'll be talking about Sigfrido Ranucci, the attempt on his life. As you all know, this is a direct attack on the freedom of the press and on freedom of expression. And as president of the Socialists and Democrats, I would like to express my full support to him, to his family, and to all journalists, because threats and intimidation against journalists are an attack on our democracy. And therefore, it is our responsibility as Europeans at this time in our institutions. It is our role to defend journalists, so we express our support and solidarity and sympathy.
The questions, Max, please.
Hi, Max Iria for Politico. In the press conference before, Manfred Weber, the chair of EPP, when asked if he committed to handing the parliament presidency to the Socialists as it was agreed, he basically answered by saying how great Roberta Metsola is, and then went on to say that the Socialists are not delivering and that they know they need to show that they're reliable before they can get the presidency. So I wanted to ask for a reaction on that. And then on the other hand, on the omnibus objection that I think will happen on Wednesday, I understand, of course, the group line of S&D is to support the omnibus, so to go against the objection. But can you reassure that the whole group will be behind you, or are there already some dissenters that have communicated they will not follow the group line? And will there be any consequences for those that don't follow the group line? Thank you.
Bueno, con respecto a las dos cuestiones,
Well, on the first question, I think that we have a lot of important issues that we need to work on, things that citizens really are looking to us for solutions on. The issues that I mentioned earlier, housing, decent jobs, public services, Europe that stands up for peace. That's what we stand for as socialists. And when it's time to take decisions on the midterm, well, that'll be the time when we have to show whether we stick to our word and whether we respect agreements that have been made. Now, on the omnibus, our position is to defend the agreement. We understand that it's not the best possible agreement. It's not exactly what we'd have wanted, but we've managed to include some improvements to the proposal. And I think that would justify us supporting the agreement that was achieved in the Legal Affairs Committee on the omnibus. On whether there'll be members of my political group who follow the line or don't, well, as is the case for any file, we discuss the group's position openly. The group's position is clear, but then obviously if at the end of the day there are specific positions from specific members, well, as is the case for many other files, I mean, I don't know whether there are any specific individual positions, but it's not something that would generate concern within our political group. We're used to holding open discussions. We take positions, but we also respect the fact that it's not 100% of the group that takes on board the same position. Thank you.
Other questions? Pietro, please.
Yes, maybe a follow-up.
Can you introduce yourself?
Pietro Guastamacchio from ANSA. Maybe a follow-up on Max's question on the presidency. Just to confirm, there was an agreement with the EPP to switch the presidency in midterm with the Socialist group. Is that correct?
There is no agreement, a cooperation agreement for the parliamentary term. There are many issues that are covered by that agreement.
Do we have further questions in the room? Yes, please, in the back.
Oui, bonjour, Emmanuel Strauss.
Good morning. I'm Emmanuel Trissard for Brussels 2. So Emmanuel Trissard for Brussels 2, and I'll be asking my question in French. On the Hungarian spying allegations, you mentioned the Commission's decision to establish an internal group to investigate the allegations. Would you support the creation of an investigative committee within the European Parliament, and what should it do? And then another question, if I may, on Gaza. What do you believe the European Union's role could be when it comes to a stabilization force? Should the EU be involved in that situation?
Sí, con respecto a la...
Yes, well, on the espionage, as the S&D group, we support working with other pro-European forces in order to have some kind of follow-up or accountability on this issue of espionage. We've discussed it at the level of group leaders. We want to see an initiative being taken in the European Parliament. We've translated that idea, or sent that idea to our colleagues in the Civil Liberties Committee. We don't know exactly what that may lead to, but yes, we would like to see an initiative taken by the Parliament. On Gaza, with the European Union role needs to be one of political leadership when it comes to finding a solution that will be achieved over several stages. I mean, I think reconstruction is a crucial issue, but also the management of this reconstruction. Who should be managing it? What's the role of the Palestinian Authority? What should the role of the Palestinian people be in managing their own state, their own territory? I think what the European Union and the High Representative need to do is to take on political leadership, which we haven't so far seen over the last couple of years. I think it's time for us to resume that position, and that's what we would call for.
Thank you. Yes, please, Laura.
Hola, Laura Zornoza para EFE. Ayer el gobierno de...
Yesterday, the Spanish government proposed getting rid of changing of summertime and wintertime, and that it was suggested that should go to the council. I think the rapporteur on the issue is from the Socialist group, so I wanted to know how that idea could be taken forward and where could it go. Well, the Parliament's position is along the lines of that transmitted by the Prime Minister of Spain yesterday. When it comes to the procedure, well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we're now in a new parliamentary term, so we have to see how we move that issue forward. This week's debate in plenary is a way of moving forward on the issue. And then discussions in the Council will, as you're aware, yesterday the Commissioner for Energy stated yesterday that they were positive on the idea of trying to achieve an agreement in Council so that we can move forward. So I think all of this goes in the same direction, trying to unblock a debate that has been on the table for a long, long time. So it's all important stuff. I mean, what we have at the moment is this debate in Parliament plenary this week, and then we'll see whether any new proposals emerge. I mean, basically, we have to wait and see whether the Commission is going to come up with a new legislative proposal or whether they're going to take up what was blocked from the previous parliamentary term. We need to see where this goes.
Buenas, Adrián Vicente de la agencia France Press. Tenía una pregunta sobre...
I had a question on the Sakharov Prize. There's going to be a vote on that tomorrow. Your group proposed humanitarian workers and journalists in Gaza. I wanted to know whether you've had any support from other groups, apart from the left group, because you proposed those candidates together with them. Well, the vote in committees is a secret vote. So obviously we formally presented our candidate together with the left group. So then we're working with them. But obviously we're going to try and come to an agreement in the Conference of Presidents this week. I mean, I'll say what I always say here. This is always a very difficult decision. Unfortunately, there are many women and men who risk their lives to defend democracy in the world. And so trying to decide who's the best representative of who's doing the best job when it comes to defending human rights is a very difficult job. But we're very pleased with the fact that among the three candidates that we're going to discuss in the Conference of Presidents, we have our candidates, so journalists and human rights workers in Gaza. So they're working very hard to defend democracy and risking their lives, as I say.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Iratxe García Pérez, and wishing you all a very good week. Maybe we can take it outside because the next ones are waiting. Merci.
Channel 2 English